Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. My name is Rob Symington. I'm a member of the 5th generation of my family to produce wine and port in the north of Portugal. And I'm going to speak to you for the next 30 minutes about why we decided 2 years ago to become a certified B Corporation. So the following presentation, I'll talk you through what a B Corporation is and why we've took this decision as an organization to follow this path and what it means for us. First, I will present a short set of information about our family business, our wine company, and then our approach to sustainability, and then talk to you about B Corporation. So without further ado, I will move to the presentation. And if you have any questions, please share them in the comments. I would be pleased to answer them at any point during this webinar. Okay. So first, a little bit about myself. I'm, like I said, I'm a 5th generation port and wine producer. My route into the wine trade and my family wine company was actually unconventional. I started working in the UK at Ernst & Young as a management consultant before starting my own business called Escape the City. Escape the City helps people make brave and unconventional career changes. And actually, Escape the City was one of the founding UK B corporations when the certification was launched in the UK in 2015. So when I returned home to work at Symington, I had already done the certification once with a previous organization, and I brought that insight and that learning to Symington. Just to set the scene, if you haven't heard of B Corporation is the most ambitious and company-wide sustainability certification covering all aspects of a company's operations, from its impact on its own people, the wider community, and the environment. But it also expands to cover areas such as ethical business practices, responsible governance, and purpose, and the impact that you have on societal and environmental problems. So it's not just a certification, it's actually a type of company. So you're obliged to change your company articles of association to include social and environmental factors at the same level as financial ones, and for your board of directors to be obliged to prioritize these issues. And we took this step for a variety of reasons, but primarily as a key part of our sustainability strategy to ensure that we're not just talking about sustainability matters, which is a trap that is very easy for any company or brand to fall into, but that we are actually obliged to walk the walk, to continuously improve our impact on social and environmental fronts using this framework and this movement. So very briefly about Symington, we are port and wine producers in the north of Portugal. We've been here since 1882, originally from Scotland, and we're now a mixture of English, Portuguese, and Scottish. And our story is really that of a family who came from outside the region and fell in love with the Douro Valley in the north of Portugal, its people and its wines, and were fortunate enough to have established a successful business producing a product that we love in an area in a beautiful part of the world. So today we're a leading producer of premium ports with 4 leading or primary port brands: Graham's, Dow's, Wars, and Coburn's. And we are also producers of a range of still wines from the Douro and more recently from the Alentejo: Prats and Symington, Quinto do Vesúvio, Quinto do Ataíde, Altano, and Quinto de Fonte Solto in the Porto Alegre region of the Alentejo. So the Douro itself, if you have not visited it, I strongly encourage you, warmly encouraging you to do so once COVID hopefully is in our past and traveling is more achievable. This is a stunning region. It is a very hard region to farm and to produce wine in. It's in fact the largest area of mountain vineyard in the world. And as you can see from this picture on the screen in front of you, it's steeply terraced. Yields are very low and the cost of production is very high. The terroir is hot, dry summers, very cold winters. So it's a region of extremes of temperature, extremes of rainfall, extremes of altitude and aspect. But it produces fantastic concentrated wines and grapes that produce elegant still wines, but also remarkable ports, including for long-term aging potential and the jewels of the port category, vintage port and aged tawny ports, are all born in this valley. It's labor intensive. It is very hard to mechanize these slopes. And so by far the majority of all of these vineyards are picked by hand, which means again that the cost of production in this region is very high. Our family are the leading organic vineyard farmers in the north of Portugal, with over 130 hectares of certified organic vineyard. And we're conducting a series of experiments in our organic vineyards to try and push the boundaries of the lower limits of organic viticulture in terms of what is the absolute minimum intervention that is possible in these vineyards. We also buy from over 850 grape growers in the region. The Douro is made up of 21,000 small farmers, many of whom have fewer than 2.5 hectares. So it really is, grape growing is in the fabric of the entire community. And many of the people who we buy grapes from we've been buying from them for generations. Our mission as an organization is, I'll talk to you about the logic behind our mission, but the secret for surviving as long as we have is not complicated. It's about prioritizing quality in everything we do, thinking long-term, looking after our land, supporting the local community on who we rely for our product, and constantly adapting to new realities. And those of us working today, be it in the wine sector or any other sector of the economy, know that we are facing unprecedented challenges when it comes to the environment. So our mindset as a family wine company is that every generation has had to adapt to the challenges of its time. Today, we face significant and existential challenges, both on climate, but also other areas, be they social or related to biodiversity, pollution of the natural environment, extraction of natural resources. And so our commitment in terms of how we do business and how we produce wine is to ensure that in every aspect of our operation and in every way we can, we are trying to minimize our negative impact and maximize the positive impact that we have as an organization. So our mission is summarized in this phrase: we want to produce exceptional wines that celebrate and preserve Portugal and contribute to a positive future for the regions where we work, captured by this idea of for the next generation. Our approach to sustainability falls into three main pillars. The first is responding to our shared challenges. This has to do with reducing our own carbon emissions, adapting to climate change that is already happening and is likely to continue happening, and supporting the local ecosystems where we have our vineyards and where we operate. The second pillar is about pioneering sustainable innovation, and this is throughout our supply chain, from the vineyards to the winery and to our packaging and our transportation. So a series of measures that we can and must do and are doing to ensure that our impact is as light as possible in terms of taking a grape from the vineyard to a bottle on the shelf. And finally, but by no means less important, is caring for the people who work for Symington and our local communities. This has to do with responsible employment, supporting the next generation in our region, and the local community on whom we rely for much of our raw material, our grapes. We have a comprehensive approach internally covering 4 working groups dealing with every aspect of our operations. And a key pillar of our approach to sustainability, and where I want to now focus the conversation, is our adoption of external frameworks to guide our sustainability efforts. It's a trap that many companies fall into, whereby sustainability is seen more as a marketing operation than actually a key driver of business transformation and change. And so to avoid falling into the trap of greenwashing, what we at Symington have done is signed up to various key external frameworks, which include measurable goals, which we report on annually and are obliged to continuously improve. We believe this is the only way to ensure that sustainability isn't seen in an organization just as a communications exercise, but actually as a catalyst for transformation and positive change. So Mission 2025 is a series of goals which are published on our website related to our sustainability activity. We've been measuring our carbon footprint every year since 2015 with the help of Ernst & Young. We've signed up to International Wineries for Climate Action as one of their member wineries, which obliges us to measure and reduce our carbon emissions in line with what the science says is required to avoid dangerous levels of climate change. And in fact, Symington's participation at the Wine and Spirits Virtual Fair this year is through IWCA. We are represented at a stand in the lobby in the main room. Please come and visit us there, and you can speak to one of our representatives about IWCA if you're interested. But the mission of IWCA is to be at the forefront of decarbonization of the wine sector by adopting a rigorous science-based approach. And then finally, B Corporation, which I'll talk to you about shortly. This is a quote by Dan Osuski, the Director of Standards at B Corp, who says that the key to meaningful commitments is that they begin with bold actions and commitments now, acknowledge their limitations, and strive for continuous improvement over time. As I just said, all too often organizations treat sustainability as a way of explaining how good they are. And it's a very easy trap for a wine company to fall into, because your whole mindset is about explaining to people how beautiful your vineyards are and how delicious your wines are. But really, a responsible sustainability strategy involves acknowledging the impact that you're having on the environment, taking responsibility for the negative externalities, your negative impact, and then committing to improvements. And that is, I think, the fundamental shift that organizations throughout the economy are having to take at the moment, which is stopping seeing sustainability as a PR exercise and beginning seeing it as a driver of systemic change. So the B Corp certification. The context for B Corp really is the fact that throughout the economy, be it in businesses or in the media, people are beginning to ask, what is a company for? The 20th century model of a company, of a for-profit organization, was have a product or service that people are prepared to pay you money for, that they value highly, don't break the law, and make money for your shareholders. And I think it's fair to say that in response to the massive shared challenges that we face globally over the coming decades, that there has been, and this is not new, this has been going on for at least 10, 15, or even 20 years, there is a growing conversation that is now increasingly mainstream around what is a company for. And the definition of business success now in 2021 is no longer simply to make money for your shareholders and to have a product or service that people love or like or will pay money for. But it is increasingly evolving and rapidly to be a much broader definition of success that involves your impact on the community and the environment. And it's in the context of that point that the B Corporation, the B Corp movement has emerged. So B Corp is setting itself out as a movement of organizations around the world of all sectors who have voluntarily signed up to a definition of business success which is far broader than that I just described. This is about using the power of business to build a more inclusive and sustainable economy and to solve or to contribute to solving some of the big shared challenges that we face. So there are almost 4,000 B Corps around the world. And a useful way of describing B Corp is, if you think about what fair trade is for a product, B Corp is the same thing for an entire organization. So there are many high-profile B Corps around the world. Ben & Jerry's is one, Patagonia is another, but almost all sectors of the economy are represented. And we were very proud that Symington was the first wine company in Portugal to become a B Corporation, as well as joining about 30 B Corp wineries around the world. So why is B Corp a powerful tool for business transformation? And why is it a valuable framework altogether? Why would we encourage other wine companies, or indeed any other organization or company, to consider B Corp certification? The first is, and I've already made this point, that it's independent. It's third-party verification of your performance on social and environmental matters. It's broad. It doesn't just talk about your farming practices as a wine company, but it covers 5 key areas: governance, environment, supply chain, workforce, and customers. It's customized, so whether you're a tech company or a winery, the assessment, your B Corp scoring framework, is customized to your specific activity, which makes it a very powerful and flexible tool. It's rigorous. As I previously mentioned, companies, to become a B Corp, are actually required to change their legal documents, their legal statutes, to lock in the B Corp obligations and to legally oblige directors, the board of directors, to prioritize the B Corp principles in their business decision making. It's transparent, so our entire score is available online as well as our full disclosure, and we are obliged to recertify every 3 years, which means that continuous improvement is baked into the B Corporation methodology. They actually make it harder for you to achieve your B Corp score every time you recertify. So you are incentivized as an organization to continuously improve. An organization of Symington's size, the average B Corp score for an organization just doing what is obliged of them, but nothing more, would be roughly between 53 and 55 points. To become a B Corp, you need 80 points to qualify, but you can get all the way up to 200 points on the B Corp scoring framework, which gives you an indication of quite how ambitious you can get in terms of transforming your business. Symington achieved 84 points on our first certification, and next year when we go back for our recertification, we are hoping to achieve our score based on the initiatives we have implemented over the last 2 years. And finally, but by no means less importantly, the B Corp logo is a fantastic way of communicating to to people who buy our wines that they are buying from a responsible company that is committed to continuous improvement and is committed to very high standards in terms of social and environmental performance. So as a wine company, when we sell our wines all around the world, often a consumer is making a purchasing decision in a matter of seconds. And we feel that having the B Corporation logo on the back label is a fantastic way of conveying a huge amount of information in a short amount of time. I would make one other point here, which is in terms of recruitment and the ongoing and constant process of trying to attract talented people to work for Symington, to join us, we have found being a B Corporation is a fantastic sales tool to attract really talented candidates for our open vacancies when we're recruiting, which is a really positive aspect of this framework for us. So here's B Corp, Fast Company, talking about B Corp as one of the most important economic movements of the last 20 years. The CEO of Patagonia talking about this as being one of the most important movements of our lifetimes. And here is a snapshot of the 6 areas in the Symington B Corp assessment, in the B Corp assessment tool. This is a breakdown of all the topics that are found within the B Corp assessment. As you can see, it is very wide-ranging and comprehensive. And here's a snapshot of what a back label on one of our Graham's ports looks like. So you can see the B Corp logo there. When someone turns around the bottle, and they can see that this wine, this brand, is endorsed by this framework. I want to finish. I want to finish by sharing some messages about purpose. I know that purposeful brands are going to be addressed at other webinars at this fair, at the Wine Spirits Virtual Fair. And I really want to emphasize that for us as a wine company, as a brand, as a family business, we believe that purpose is, and this is again not new, but we believe that bringing a clear and credible purpose to the core of our operations, not just on the side as something that we do some small corporate sustainability, corporate social responsibility efforts around, is at the heart of the next cycle of value creation and strong and authentic brand building in the economy. And again, this isn't new. Over the last couple of decades, purposeful brands, be they Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, and many other examples, have demonstrated that consumers resonate very strongly with organizations that are demonstrably trying to be responsible and ethical businesses. So I just want to share you some evidence and some messages on this front. Consumers do care about the company behind the products that they buy. And there are loads of statistics and research that supports this. 63% of consumers prefer to purchase from purpose-driven brands. The majority of teenagers consider a brand's ethics when making purchasing decisions. Nearly 70% of consumers feel brands should get more political, which again is a very uncomfortable area for a brand or a company to stray into. 88% of consumers want brands to help them make a difference in their daily lives, to help them be more environmentally friendly and ethical when they make their purchasing decisions. Consumers expect the same from their brands as they do from their friends, which is an incredible insight. Brands unwilling to commit to a set of values risk losing consumers. In the Meaningful Brands report from 2019, Havas Group found that 77% of consumers prefer to buy from companies who share their values, saying that brand activism will become a crucial part of a brand's strategy going forwards. 55% of consumers believe that brands are more essential than governance than in creating a better future for our society, which is a staggering statistic. Purpose pays. This isn't just about nice, fluffy ideas. This is also about the business of selling more of your product. 30,000 consumers in 60 countries in a Nielsen study said that consumers are willing to pay more for purposeful brands, 66%. And 73% of people born after 1980. This is the CEO of Unilever, Alain Job, saying 2/3 of consumers around the world say they choose brands because of their stand on social issues. And over 90% of millennials say they would switch brands for one which champions a cause. Purpose praise. There's clear evidence that companies that perform highly on sustainability also perform more highly on financial results. Consumer goods brands that demonstrate commitment to sustainability outperform those that don't. Responsible companies perform better on the stock market. Every CFO should know this. The future of banking ties verified environmental, social, and governance performance to cheaper capital. And on it goes. Companies with a purpose beyond profit tend to make more money. This is the paradox that the most profitable companies are not the most profit-focused. And on it goes. So, at this point as well, people want to work at companies that are purpose-driven. So I hope I've shared some strong messages here to encourage those of you watching, whether or not you are running an organization or working in one, that evolving to be a purpose-led organization which has social and environmental impact at its core, not just in a silo treated by one or two teams, is a competitive advantage and a driver of value creation for any company going forwards. And for us, this is why, here's some stats from LinkedIn about purpose-driven companies attracting and retaining more talented professionals. And I'll just flick to the end. So for us at Symington, this is not can we afford to do this, it's can we afford not to do this. And this analysis and decision-making process was at the core of our decision to decide to become a B Corporation. We're strongly hoping that many other wine companies around the world will look at this framework and agree with us that it makes sense for them as a structured way of guiding their sustainability work over the coming years. We are very keen to support other wine companies who want to know more about this framework. Please feel free to reach out. We would be happy to explain more about B Corporation and indeed the International Wineries for Climate Action association that we've also signed up to. So as we're coming to the end, I will just click to my conclusion slides. It really is about using the tools of business to tackle some of the big challenges that we face. The only way that we're going to do this is by bringing it to the core of business processes and transformation, and with measurable goals that are reviewed and accompanied by the most senior people in the organization. This is the only way to drive systemic change and innovation. And at Symington, we strongly believe that sustainability and innovation are two sides of the same coin. So if you're not building a mission-driven, problem-solving business or evolving into one, then you will be left behind. A strong message from Ben Keane. And I would just finish by saying, why are we doing this? As a family business, we have a long-term mindset. We aim to make ports and wines that stand the test of time. To do this, we need a stable climate and a healthy ecosystem, and a positive future for the communities where we work. And of course, it's the right thing to do. We know that we cannot have a successful business that we can hand on to our children and their children if society and the global community does not solve the problems and challenges that we face over the coming years. So this really is an existential threat for all of us, for a wine company, for us in the north of Portugal. And we are committed to doing what we can within our area of operation to roll our sleeves up and be part of the solution, taking responsibility for our negative impact. So thank you for listening. I hope that was insightful and useful introduction to something of what we're doing in terms of sustainability at Symington, and particularly why we chose the B Corp framework as the key framework and certification to guide all of our sustainability efforts. Thank you.